be in the Kennedy Center. It'll, you know, be all the places where all these other art forms, especially in the American tradition, where jazz started off in like brothels and then it ended up, you know, on Lincoln Center. Yeah.
Same thing about like Shakespeare. I mean, he got this, you know, early on. You know what I mean? Now it's high literature in all American educational institutions. It's high literature. But during the time of Shakespeare,
it was
very, you know, very disruptive.
Could you compare like rap to spoken word?
Yeah, I'm a spoken word artist, so I know. So basically, rhyming, and spoken word, they're like, spoken word is like the brother or sister to the twins, you know. Even though spoken word is based in poetry, so when a spoken word artist, what makes a spoken word artist different than a rap artist is that a lot of times a rap artist has to be in meter. He has to be in like in the bar. I mean, has to be in the bars. Has to be in the rhythm of the music. So you usually write to the rhythm of the music. So you become more rhythmic. You know what I mean? And spoken word artists have taken that element and use it in their own rhythm, but they're not binded to the beat. You know what I mean? So a rap artist has to be binded into the beat. So it's more structured for a rap artist than it is for a spoken word artist. But the deep thing about it is that in seeing the whole spoken word movement, it's been inspired by rap music. You know what I mean? So the whole spoken word movement in the 90s is inspired by rap music, and then in turn, there was a spoken word movement of the late 60s and early 70s, you know, with Amir Baraka, with even in the beatnik era, you know what I mean? But with people like Sonia Sanchez, Last Poets, and inspired rap music. And people like Afrika Bambaataa were listening to the Last Poets. Seriously, like Afrika Bambaataa was literally listening to the Last Poets in the early 70s. He said it himself. He was like, he was checking them out, he was listening to the records, he was inspired by a lot of their album covers and so on and so forth. When he made his, you know, he had made a trip to South Africa. And he had got some funding, and he was part of a youth leadership to go to South Africa. And that's totally where he got the idea of the Zulu Nation, and he got totally transformed by being in South Africa. Well, and when he came back and he was politicized from that whole trip, he was he was listening to Last Poets. And here, Afrika Bambaataa is one of the founders, they call it the Trinity Three. You know, he's like one of the founders of the modern hip hop movement. So you see how it's all. And it goes back to what Amos was saying, it's all like connected and all like the same path, and one inspires the other. And I could tell for sure that a lot of the spoken word artists of the 90s were heavily inspired by rap music. And actually what happened is that by spoken word being there, it kind of reinvigorated the lyricism of rap music. Because people who, you know, like Nas or Jay-Z even, you know, Jay-Z like goes and has been spotted at spoken word poetry spots, you know what I mean? And so it kind of invigorates them, so one feeds the other, you know? I hope I answered that correctly. So there's not really too big difference, but the main difference is for a rap artist, like me, I can write a rhyme, but I know people who are better than me that ride the beat better. You know what I mean? Like I'll have a difficult time riding the beat, but I know people who can ride the beat like crazy. So that's the difference. You know what I mean? Because I'm more freer when I write. But someone who writes rhymes, they're in the, like, as James Brown said, like in the, you know, in the pocket. You know, you got to be in this, like, in the structured area, and you can't leave out of it. And if you do, it's not really like structured rap music. You understand? So,
yeah. And I would even add to that like those differences create tendencies where the rapper mentality and goal tends to be more oriented towards a sort of like popular appeal, or people feeling it on a sort of like gut level, nod your head level, whereas the tendency I feel like in the poet is more about expression, and that since they have more freedom, that popular appeal becomes a little bit, you know, or I wouldn't say less important, but like the getting, you know, your thoughts and ideas become like the most powerful things. Those are like out front.
Right. Where the style and the rhythm, and the stylization of the words is different for rap.
Yeah, and they're still there on poetry, but it's just like it's about what kind of, to me, like takes front stage a little bit more and creates these different tendencies. Where there's like, you know, rappers who are very poetic and there's spoken word artists who are very rhythmic. And So even just, I guess that would be a good lead into, I had two like examples I wanted to play that I brought of, and if you could see it from here, I'll try to make it as big as possible. But like, it's like these YouTube clips that I like of the first one, Jessica Care Moore is like a spoken word artist from Detroit, and this is a piece from, she's like performing a piece from her book, a portion of her book, God Is Not an American, and I think this one and the next one I'm going to play have a little bit of strong language in them, but not too much, and with very good reason. So, play some of this. I think I'm going to skip ahead a little bit before into this one also.
The government doesn't mess with you for reading my ancestors or my fathers. Anything other than the game of football. This is for him. One of Janet Jackson's tits. Stop America from the luxury of their pork and beer and family hour of football on primetime television. One quick glance of this natural dark phenomenon shook the fat white beer bellies and right wing like a juicy piece of barbecue, dripping like blood, covering the carpets of America's brutal living dead room that powered its brain with their TV God, teaching us that a woman's body is not sacred. One brown breast exposed for 2 seconds is a sin in the home of Puritans and Pilgrims, while we are forced to watch and smell them bloated, pierced, hairy, funky beer bellies of men who have 5 tits to our 2, sweating profusely as they scream at their favorite football team, shoving Cheetos down their throats, acting as if their children really give a damn who wins. Football is an outside sport. When's the last time any of you went outside and threw the pigskin? Played under the sun and the stars is a violent game that paralyzes, excites the gladiator in us. All this Super Bowl attention to a single black quarterback and the fighting of pit bulls? But what about the abused wives of players? What is the fight of beating the shit out of your wife after a bad loss? They don't talk about that. Are we ready to rumble? Young men rumble. They rape women. They rape dogs. We live in a country that used to muzzle African women and rape them like wild animals. Fighting slave shackled African men gladiator style. And Michael Vick is the villain? Let's be clear. I'm an animal lover. I cry when I had to leave my dog Crystal behind. My mama left my daddy. He was a mud and crazy as hell. Nobody wanted to fight Crystal's ass. He was hard poodle and dead up the damn gown like a hound dog. But around the block we knew some dummies who used to fight the pit bulls, and we weren't allowed to go over there. But it was a part of the culture of my neighborhood. Dog fighting, chicken fighting, slave fighting, violent contact sports, boxing, football, hockey, American as apple pie. You can lose your legs, your hands, your teeth, your life.